Ever notice how even when you think you've got this whole plant parenting thing down, you still like forget to water them sometimes?
Totally.
Relationships,
Yeah,
kind of the same deal. Even the happiest ones, they need a little TLC every now and then.
absolutely. They need to be nurtured.
Exactly. So for today's deep dive, we're going to dig into, no pun intended,
Mm,
5 powerful ways to keep that long-term love thriving.
I love it.
And don't worry, we're not cracking open some dusty old relationship advice book.
Go wait.
We found this really insightful advice column
Oh, cool.
that I think you're going to find super relatable.
Awesome. Well, and you know what I find so fascinating about these tips? They seem really simple on the surface, right?
Yeah, totally.
But it's how they actually play out in our everyday
It's
lives.
putting them into practice, right?
Exactly.
So let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Tip number 1 is all about prioritizing quality time. Sounds simple enough, but let's be real. We're all busy. Work, chores, catching up on our favorite shows. How do we actually make time for each other beyond just like, I don't know, collapsing on the couch at the end of the day?
Right. It's about being intentional with the time that we have.
Yeah.
And I love that the article gave that example of scheduling date nights. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But even if you can just get 15 minutes in the morning just to have a cup of coffee together
Hmm?
before the craziest of the day starts, even those little moments,
Totally. Those little moments of connection, just checking in.
Absolutely.
That is so important. Okay, tip number 2. This one is communicate regularly.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is one of those things where we all think we're doing it, but are we really?
Right.
Like, what does truly meaningful communication even look like, especially in a long-term relationship?
Right. It's going a little bit deeper than how was your day?
Right, exactly.
The source talked about discussing feelings, needs, and even long-term goals as a couple.
Yeah, and I think
I think that's a big one.
that's so key because it's so easy to just assume our partner just, knows these things about us, especially when you've been together a long time.
Yeah. And we make assumptions.
But actually voicing them can make such a difference. Okay, get ready for tip number 3. Keep the romance alive.
I bet you some people just roll their eyes, right?
I know.
Like, romance, that's for new relationships.
You're right.
But here's the thing. Romance, it's not always these grand gestures. It's not about spending a lot of money. It's really about maintaining that spark, that sense of excitement in the relationship.
Right.
Remember that part in the article about surprises.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be big over-the-top surprises. It could be something as simple as a handwritten note
Oh, I love that.
or picking up their favorite drink on the way home from work.
It's those little things.
It's the thought, right,
Yes.
that really counts.
Speaking of little things that make a big difference, tip number 4, show appreciation. And again, this is something where we just kind of assume, oh, my partner knows I appreciate them.
Right.
But why is it so important to actually say it out loud, especially after you've been together for a while?
Because, being told that you are appreciated, it is incredibly powerful. We all have that inherent human need to feel valued and seen. And it directly impacts our relationship satisfaction.
Mhm.
I think there was this fascinating study that was mentioned in the article that couples who regularly express gratitude towards one another, they actually reported feeling closer and happier in their relationships.
It makes sense. Like you hear it, it registers, you feel good.
Absolutely.
Okay, last but not least, we have tip number 5. Be present.
Oh, that's a tough one
I know, right?
in this day and age.
Easier said than done with, like our phones constantly buzzing and a million things competing for our attention. So how can we actually be more present without turning into hermits?
It's about making that conscious effort to just really be engaged in those moments that you're sharing with your partner. Doesn't matter how big or small they are.
Right. Be present.
Be present. And I thought the article had such a good point about putting your phone away during meals. Even having those tech-free evenings where you're just fully present with each other.
Yes.
It's like really protecting that sacred space that you have together.
I love that. This has been such an insightful deep dive.
Yes, it has.
And I think, the biggest takeaway here is that it's not about those grand sweeping gestures. It's the little things that we do consistently that make all the difference.
100%. And you know what? I really encourage you to think about, of these 5 tips, which one really resonated with you?
Yeah.
And how can you start incorporating it into your relationship today?
Yes. It's never too late.
It's never too late. And remember, even these small changes that you make can have a really big impact on your long-term happiness.
You heard it here.
That's right.